Michelle Adair, Sue Pollard, Karen Spencer, Ben Starbeck, and if I missed you, just give a shout out. I'm not sure, I might have probably missed a bunch of people too. Thanks to each of you for being here as voters, as delegates, and as members of our community, for caring about the future of this community and the state, and for showing up to get involved. Now I'd like to invite, we actually have a surprise guest here tonight. We have Emily Brown is with us, and she is the wife of Derek Brown, who's running for Attorney General, and she is a fabulous singer, and she's going to lead us in the national anthem. So I'd like to invite Emily up to the stage, and then we'll also give a prayer following from Betty Ann Hutt.
Oh. And the home of the
Prayer for endurance through the storms. God, our refuge and strength, help us in times of trouble. When the earth dissolves and the mountains tumble into the sea, its waters roar and foam. Remind us of your might and your good and gracious will. All creation is groaning as it suffers the corruption of sin. But you have promised to make all things work together for the good of those who love you. Hear our prayer. Deliver us from evil and save your people from all disaster. Give patience and endurance to those who serve, help, and rescue. Calm the anxious, comfort those who suffer loss. Turn thoughts from earthly to heavenly things, that we look to you, our only Savior and help. Amen.
Let's all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to Emily and Betty Ann and Rod. Next up, we are getting ready to invite our candidates up to the podium. And but before we do that, we would like to hear a few words from Marjorie Ellis. I didn't think you were going to get away, did you, Marjorie?
Well, you know what I'm here to talk about as the treasurer here for the Summit County. We just appreciate all the candidates and your support for coming here and donating, and we really appreciate it. But now I'm looking to our delegates, our precinct chairs, our everybody, our county people. So all of the money that we raise here goes back to bringing candidates in, to having events, we really want to create an experience where you get to know what your local and state and national leaders. So there are some signs out there for Venmo or online. Every dollar counts, $5, $10, $50. We really, really do appreciate it because it goes right back into programs. And especially in a year of elections, we're going to be doing more media, newsletters, and all of that takes money. So, and volunteers too. So we welcome everybody, but please donate. It all does go back to the county and to promoting our candidates.
Now, I'd like to start welcoming our candidates up to the stage. Thank you, Marjorie. We are going to hear from everyone, our candidates running this fall. And this is important not only for state delegates who will be voting on many of these races at our state convention on April 27th. Also important for anyone planning to vote in the primary so that you understand the races that you are voting for. So we are going to get started with the candidates for governor. And I would like to invite them up to the stage, including Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, and we're so appreciative that she's here with us tonight. We also have Phil Wyman, who is running for governor. Phil is a member of the state legislature, and he's from Blanding. We have Carson Jorgensen, who is formerly the chairman of the Utah State Republican Party, here with us tonight. So thank you all, and I appreciate if our candidates for governor could come up to the podium, and we'll get started. I'd like to welcome Lieutenant Governor Henderson. Let's see, is she here with us? And the format we're going to do tonight is to have all the candidates come up as a group and then hand off the mic to each other, just so we can kind of be a little more friction-free. And most of our candidates are headed to Heber to speak at the Wasatch County Convention tonight, so they are eager to be prompt, and so we're going to try to keep us all on schedule tonight. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Henderson.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for the warm welcome. It's always a pleasure to be in Summit County. My name is Deidre Henderson. I am your Lieutenant Governor. And if you don't know what that is, you're in good company. Nobody knows what a Lieutenant Governor is, including my mother. But for the past few years, I've had the opportunity to work side by side with Governor Spencer Cox. I actually was a member of the state legislature for 8 years. I live in Spanish Fork. I've lived there since 1998. I have 5 kids. That's where we raised our kids. My husband and I, Gabe and I have been married for 30 years. By the time I was 21, I had lived in 2 countries and 6 different states. And I've visited a whole bunch of places. I've traveled throughout the world. I visited 47 of the 50 states. And there is nowhere like Utah. And there is nowhere I would rather be. There's nowhere I'd rather live. There's nowhere I'd rather work. There's no people I'd rather rub shoulders with than the people here in the state of Utah. So for the past 3.5 years, Governor Cox and I have worked side by side. We have visited every corner of the state. Phil, I forgot how many times I've been to Blanding, but it's been a lot. We've been all over the state, visiting with the people of the state of Utah, getting familiar with you, understanding what the problems are. No offense to any members of Congress that might be in the room, but unlike the federal government, state government is awesome. It's where it happens. In state government, we can actually solve problems. We can actually get things done. It's what I love about it. And under Governor Cox's leadership, we have done a lot. And of course, all of this is in collaboration with our legislature. We've got a number of legislators here tonight. And as a former state senator myself, I have a great, deep appreciation for what the legislature does and how they do it. But under Governor Cox's leadership and with the help of the legislature, we cut over $1 billion worth of taxes in the last 3 years. It definitely deserves applause. We funded education in unprecedented levels and gave teachers a huge pay raise. We also, at the same time, expanded parent choice because we believe that parents have the right to choose where their kids go to school. We've helped secure the border. Governor Cox sent the National Guard, and he sent Highway Patrol down to Texas to help Governor Abbott do what the Biden administration won't do, which is to help secure our border. And we also actively supported constitutional carry. On a personal note, I'm very grateful for the way Governor Cox runs this state, the way he leads, not just what he does, but the way he does it. We're asking for 4 more years, and we're grateful for the opportunity that we've had to represent you in our state government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor. And it's so good to be here in Summit County tonight and to see all the good people. How many of you are delegates here? Thank you. Thank you for the service. It's also great to see some of my colleagues from the legislature, Representative Birkeland and Senator Johnson. It's good to see you here. Thank you for all the work that you do. I'm from Blanding, Utah. My name is Phil Lyman. My wife Jody and I have 5 children and 17 grandchildren. They're very competitive with each other, so we have a lot of grandkids. About 2 years ago, my 2 oldest boys moved back to Blanding. My oldest son's an orthopedic surgeon. His little brother is a family doc, and between them, they brought some grandkids. I had 4 little granddaughters between the ages of 6 and 9, and my wife started up a thing she called the Cousin Caucus. I renamed it, what she called the Cookies in the Constitution. I renamed it the Cousin Caucus, but in that caucus, they were learning the preamble of the Constitution. There's nothing that touches your heart more than hearing your little granddaughters recite the preamble of the Constitution that says that the whole purpose of the Constitution is to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That's what we're doing as delegates. That's what we do as parents. A state that doesn't understand the role of personhood is liable to misunderstand the role of parenthood. We watched our kids masked and our parents prosecuted at school board meetings in the last few years. That should never happen in a state. A state that understands statehood will stand up to the federal government. I was a county commissioner in San Juan County, and I felt an obligation to stand in the gap between the citizens and the federal government. These people were having their lives destroyed, their occupations taken away from them. And I watched this systematically going down this path. The Declaration of Independence tells us that when we observe a pattern of abuses and usurpations that pursue invariably the same end, that we have an obligation, we have a right and a duty to stand up. And so I ran as county commissioner. I stood up to that. It ended up costing me dearly. I was prosecuted by the federal government, went to jail, got a mugshot before they were cool, and then I ran for the state legislature. It turns out that the people in my district respected somebody that would stand up to the federal government. I also got a pardon from Donald Trump shortly after that. I believe I'm the only legislator in the history of Utah that ran for the state legislature while they had a parole officer. But the point being there that I will stand up. I will stand up to the federal government. A state that won't stand up to the federal government is not really a state. They're an administrative subunit of the federal government. We have to have strong states. You know, God bless Texas for what they're doing right now. I love to see the way they stand up to the invasion of the southern border. I was down at the southern border in December, and I watched those things happen. I watched that happen. So thank you to Governor Abbott for standing up against the southern border. But states have the same obligation to prevent the invasion that we see happening in our second grade classrooms. CRT, critical race theory, I believe now that I've learned as much as I can learn about it, it's one of the most evil things that we could ever experience, to teach children that they are inherently racist or inherently a victim. So I'm running for governor because I believe states should be states or should stand up to the federal government. Thank you very much.
Good to be back in Summit County. For those of you who don't know, my Family got a ranch up above Colville. We dearly love it here. It's a good place. Family's been here for a long time. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carson Jorgensen, and I'm running for governor. I'm running for governor because I'm worried. I'm worried about the quality of leadership and the direction our state's headed, turning just a little more blue every year. I know you see it, and I know that you feel it. And why do we feel the need to do this? When we know what works. Red works better than blue, conservative works better than liberal, Republican works better than Democrat. So why do we elect Republicans who feel the need to wander down the center of the road trying to please everybody when we know what works? This is where we're at. We're at a critical crossroads. We are where California was 25 years ago. The reason I say all this, look at our state. Over the past 10 years, we've doubled our budget. Over the past 3 years, we've gone from $21 billion to $29.5 billion spending. We've gone from $4 billion a year from the federal government to $9 billion from the federal government. I don't know about you, but I can't think of a worse thing right now than to hitch our wagon to the federal government who doesn't know how to control themselves. You say, Carson, why do these things matter? We've got a tax cut, got a few other things. How big would that tax cut be if we hadn't doubled spending? How big would that tax cut be if we weren't building taxpayer-backed baseball stadiums and NHL hockey teams? How would those things be? Because this is what we're leaving for our children. You know, as Phil said, we have to do what we can. Every state has become a border state. We've got to do what we have to do to secure our border. And questions need to be answered. What we can do here in the state. What are things that we should be doing to secure our own border? Those are questions we need answered. How many people are here? What incentives are we giving them to stay here? What are we doing to remove them from the state when legally possible? Those are questions that you should be asking. And frankly, those are questions that should be answered. A few other things that concern me. This new push to appoint statewide offices is coming from the top down, to appoint the treasurer's office, the attorney general's office, the auditor, and even the state school board. I don't know about you, but anytime that you remove the ability for the people to choose who represents them, you're going the wrong direction. We can do something about it. We have the ability to do something about it. And our best days are still ahead. And we can turn this ship around while we still have a chance. But we need a clear, conservative direction, a commitment to head that way, and a governor that's willing to take us that direction. And that's why I'm running for governor.
I want to thank each of our gubernatorial candidates. And next, I'd like to welcome to the stage our candidates for the U.S. Senate. We're so appreciative. We have a lot of candidates for Senate here with us tonight. Congressman John Curtis, who has represented Utah in the U.S. Congress and for third district, 7 years. And we have Brett Warren Hatch. We have Trent Staggs, who's the mayor of Riverton, Carolyn Phippen, Jason Walton, and let's see, Brad Wilson, I think was not able to attend tonight. I think we have Kara Berkman speaking on behalf of Brad Wilson. Is that right, Kara? Okay, great. So with that, I'd like to welcome the candidates to get started, and we're starting out with Congressman John Curtis.
Thank you. It is a great honor to be here with you tonight. Some of you know me as the guy that used to build shooting ranges. Some of you know me as the guy who used to be provost mayor. And some of you know me as somebody who served in the 3rd Congressional District for the last 7 years. But many of you are still getting to know me. So tonight I'd like to share just a few things about me, John Curtis, that I think will influence your vote and your determination if I'm worthy to be your next senator. So let me start with where you're all thinking, the border. I've actually been to the border, not once, twice, but 3 times, and I was there several weeks ago and did a ride-along with the local sheriff's office. I think I understand what's happening at the border better than anybody in this race. and I think I understand how to fix it. Look, it's not that hard. Remain in Mexico. Joe Biden can implement it today, and it would solve the vast majority of our problem. I want you to also know I have sponsored a bill that would actually reimburse Governor Abbott and Spencer Cox if they send troops down there to the border to do the job that the federal government should be doing. Thank you. So another big issue in this state is public lands. And I want you to know I've not only fought the federal government on federal lands, I've won. I've transferred more federal land to state ownership than anyone in the state's history. I've secured more grazing permanently than anyone in the state's history. I've secured more area for recreation, for extraction than anybody in the state's history. And public lands are something I'm very good, my team's very good at. The third thing is I have pushed back harder against China's aggression than anyone in Congress. I fought their stealing our AP and stealing your data, and I fought their overtake of Hong Kong and their aggression towards Taiwan. I've been so successful at this that many of you know there's a warrant for my arrest in China. And I wear that as a badge of honor. I fought hard on our energy policy, the broken energy policy of the United States. I vice chair the Energy and Grid Security Subcommittee. And my colleagues in Washington will tell you I've done more to change the narrative about our natural resources here in Utah actually being part of the solution and not the problem. And I've done more to fight Joe Biden's reckless spending. I'm the only politician I know that's actually reduced the government budget. When I left as provost mayor, taxes were lower than the day that I walked into that office. Not many people can say that. There's more you should know about me. I have the House's most conservative in the Utah delegation's voting record. My lifetime score with Heritage Action is 91%. There's more you should know about me. I've passed 19 bills into law. I've been rated the 9th most effective Republican legislator in the House of Representatives. There's more you should know about me. My team was rated #1 in the entire United States for constituent outreach, accessibility, and accountability. Thank you. Very proud of that. That's what matters to you. I bring experience, not just my experience, my team's experience. I bring my seniority. Many people don't know I actually get to carry my seniority from the House into the Senate. I will say this, if you elect me, I'll make a commitment. Your issues will be my issues. If it's important to you, it will be important to me. I'll not only fight for you, but I'll win for you. Thank you very much.
It's an incredible honor to be here speaking for Brad Wilson. I'm more nervous to speak for him than for myself, so forgive me. I also spilled cake on my suit on the way here, so I had to go stop at TJ Maxx, and now I'm underdressed compared to these amazing people, so I'm sorry. But I just want to highlight. Happy birthday. Thank you. It is my birthday. That's why I was cake. There are amazing candidates on here who I have so much respect for. I've known for quite a long time and love and respect them. I want to talk to you though about why I got behind Brad Wilson. I was a freshman representative 4 years ago, and I was concerned about where America was going, where Utah specifically was going. And our speaker at the time, Brad Wilson, sat down, went over my priorities, which were this district's priorities, and he helped advance those priorities in the House. I have never talked to an elected official who talked more about limiting the size of government. Another colleague would talk about a bill, and he'd say, that's going to expand government. Have you thought of that? And that was really impressive to me. Why so high? We keep growing government. Why do we have so many rules and regulations? We keep growing government. Brad doesn't want to grow government, and I saw that firsthand. I also ran the bill to preserve women's sports, and I can guarantee every one of you that bill would not have passed without Brad Wilson. If you want someone who's unwavering and standing up for things that are right, for things that he believes in, it's Brad Wilson every day that I have been able to work with him. When it came to taxes, he 100% supported anything I wanted to do and fought in the Senate to decrease taxes, to lift the tax burden. That matters. He understands because he's a business owner. He's lived in Davis County his entire life. He's owned businesses. He understands how that impacts us day to day, and he cares. There's amazing people up here, and Utah is really grateful. I feel like we should be grateful, and we're really blessed that any one of these people will go back to DC, and I'm sure fight hard for you and I, and that's really important. But I can tell you from firsthand experience, Brad Wilson will go back and he will make the greatness of Utah a priority for this nation. It won't just be about what's good for Utah. It'll be about what's great for Utah in fixing America. We can't keep America great and we can't keep Utah great if we don't first understand how to make Utah great to begin with. And he has done the work to show that we've made a great Utah. We're best in the economy. When it comes to removing things like DEI, when it comes to things like preserving women's sports and women's spaces, he's been there fighting that fight, reducing taxes, giving tax breaks to the elderly and those on fixed incomes. He's proven it. And I know he'll go to DC and continue to prove it. And that's why he has my utmost support, and I hope he earns yours. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Trent Staggs, running for U.S. Senate. Thank you. How many are state delegates? I know you really raised your hands, but wow, this is great. Okay, I am a convention-only candidate. I trust you, the delegates, to go ahead and make this decision. I committed day one when we launched my campaign to go through the caucus convention system because I believe that that is the best way by which we can nominate our candidates, and I'm committed to that. Thank you. Now, why am I running for this? Because I am sick and tired of Massachusetts having a third senator. Back in May, I said, you know what, enough is enough. We're going to replace Mitt Romney. Utah deserves another constitutional conservative, another Mike Lee, and we've got an opportunity to do it here this year. So we did that. We announced in May, called out Mitt Romney time and time again in national media, whether it's been on the Mark Levin show, Charlie Kirk, Fox News, you name it, even my speech at CPAC recently. And in September, he said he wasn't seeking re-election. Now, since that time, we've had a number of folks enter this race, but I think a big differentiator is that I was in it. We called him out time and time again. And that's what this is all about. That's what I've been saying as I've been campaigning for the last 10, 11 months. You're going to hear from candidates, everybody espouses conservative ideology. But have people been proven? Have they walked the walk, not just talk the talk? And I refer you to my website at trentstaggs.com. There's a page there called Proven Fighter. Not only does it talk about the Pentagon and challenge Mitt Romney, we endorsed President Trump last summer. We need his strength back in office. As the mayor stood up to lockdowns and the mask mandates and vaccine mandates, not in my community. We took on ESG, high-density housing, inappropriate materials in school. That's why I'm endorsed by Moms for America, by Utah Parents United, and many, many other organizations. So we need people that are going to go back there and stand up. We've got to elect more than people with just R's next to their name. Senator Tommy Tuberville has also endorsed my candidacy. The only one in the race that has a sitting U.S. Senator endorsement. I'm building a coalition to go back there day one in January with President Trump and get this done, advance an America First constitutional conservative agenda. And we've been really humble. We've been endorsed by Mark Levin, Charlie Kirk, Kerry Lake, Senator Tommy Tuberville, Congressman Matt Gaetz. I know many of you were at the event this last week. And about 100 local elected officials. So we built a coalition to be able to win at convention, but also in the primary. But I'm asking for your vote as a convention-only candidate, and let's do this together. Thank you.
My name is Jason Walton, and I'm excited to run for the United States Senate. I'm from Provo, Utah, originally from Monticello, like Phil, down in the San Juan. I attended Brigham Young University and met my wife there, where we got the exciting degrees of accounting together. And yeah, then we went started a pest control business out of our garage. And with no outside investors, we built it into one of the largest pest control companies in the nation. Any entrepreneurs here? Yeah, it's hard. We fought against big government and corrupt regulators the entire time. I'm here to tell you I've not been involved in politics. Not only have I not been involved in politics, I've had a healthy distrust of politicians. And I'm here to tell you right now, that's why I got off the couch, and that's why I'm running for the United States Senate. The problems that we have in Utah right now, the problems that we have in the United States Senate, I promise you this, the answer is not another career politician. It is not. What we need, thank you. We need more business people like Donald Trump to represent you with reckless abandonment, no sense of self-preservation. I don't have any hooks in me. There's nobody who I've made promises to except my wife, my God, my family, and my state. And I promise when I go to Washington, you go with me. Next. It's time to bring a little bit of common sense back into governance. Common sense like this. Why is it that members of the House and Senate are allowed to trade stocks on companies that are here before their committee? It's not right. They shouldn't be allowed to trade stocks at all. Number two, can solve the 3/4 of America's problems right now. Make it to where everyone has to run a business for 5 years, stay within a budget, meet a payroll, before they're ever allowed to vote on a federal spending bill. And for the life of me, I cannot figure out why we don't go secure the border. Why are we securing the borders in other countries before we secure our border at home? It's not right. And I'm tired of politicians playing political games with my family's safety and your family's safety. And that's why I'm telling you, I got off the couch. The answer is not another politician. I love this country. I love this country. And what made this country great is that our founding fathers suffered under tyranny. And they rebelled against that tyranny and came here to the United States. Under the founding thing, they wanted to worship their God and keep what they earned and not be meddled with by big government or by something tyrannical. The Constitution is divinely inspired. This country was divinely prepared. And when that Constitution was finally signed, George Washington encouraged us in its, quote, sacred maintenance with wisdom and virtue. And by that, we're talking about the maintenance of federalism, the vertical axis, the maintenance of separation of powers, the horizontal axis. And I'm telling you that over the last year since FDR, our country has been blasphemously maintaining the Constitution. It's not just the left, there are foreign powers who are attacking us at our base, making us embarrassed of the Constitution. Capitalism is evil, infecting us with Marxist policies like DEI, ESG, and other Marxist ideas. My friends and neighbors in Utah, please support me. I'm going to go to Washington. We're going to retake the Senate, keep the House, defeat Biden, and elect Donald Trump as the next president of the United States of America.
Hi, my name is Brent Orange-Hatch, and I want to do something a little bit different. I want to tell you, I served in the White House with George Bush as associate counsel to the president. I was the first Utahn to ever do that, and I want to kind of break the tradition, and I want to tell you a story about the least significant thing I did in the White House. Fair enough? I was sitting in my office one day, and I got a call from Barbara Bush's chief of staff, and she was all worked up about something. And she said, we talked to the president, and he said, you would be able to figure out a way to solve this question. And I'm like, well, that's a lot of pressure. So I said, come over and we'll talk about it. And she walks into my office and says, we've got a real catastrophe on hand. And I go, well, what is that? She goes, the president's wife, Barbara Bush, has been called for jury duty in Texas in maintaining Texas residency. And this is going to be a catastrophe. How are we ever going to do that? Somebody has got to stop this. And I was like, wow. I did all these things in my life to get to the moment where I've got to get someone out of jury duty. I said to her, I said, well, do you have the summons? And she did. And I said, I will take care of this. And she said, what are you going to do? And I said, just trust me. So you know what I did? I called that judge. And most people would call him up and say, you can't do this. I called him up and I said, did you know you subpoenaed the president's wife for jury duty in your court. He goes, yeah, I know that. And I go, you know that's going to cause a lot of commotion with the press, and everybody is going to descend on your little courtroom. He goes, yeah, I know that. And I go, so you don't think she should be out of jury duty? He goes, no, I think everybody should. And I go, well, I do too. And I go, but let me ask you a question. If I had Barbara Bush send you a handwritten letter that said basically the following: it's the greatest honor of my life to be called to jury duty in your courtroom, Judge blank, and I look forward to this and I can't wait to come down. If you were to receive that letter, what would you do? What would he say? He said, if I got that letter, I would immediately dismiss her from jury duty. That's someone on a little matter who knows how to get things done. I clerked for Robert Bork out of law school, the greatest judge short of the Supreme Court ever. I worked for President Reagan, the greatest conservative president and the most dignified president of our day. I worked for President Bush, another dignified man and a conservative. I spent 38 years of my life fighting. This is not an insignificant thing like I just shared with you. Fighting with the Federalist Society as a board member and personally vetting Supreme Court justices. Reagan, Bush 1, Bush 2, and Donald Trump. And now we have a 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court. There is no one in this race who has done these types of things consistently for their entire professional life. Conservative, smart, gets things done. Brent Hatch for Senate. Thank you.
Carolyn Fippen. Just like everybody else up here, I am running for the U.S. Senate, and it is time for Utah to send another constitutional conservative to serve with Mike Lee back to the Senate. I worked for him for a number of years, and prior to that, I worked for the Utah House Majority under Speaker Greg Hughes. I have worked extensively on policy issues at the state level and at the federal level with more experience and expertise on those issues through a constitutional lens than anybody else in this race. And I will tell you, before that, I spent 20 years home raising my 5 amazing boys. And we hear from politicians all the time that they know how to get things done. Let me tell you, we have a $34.5 trillion debt because politicians know how to get things done. I am not interested in just getting things done. I care about getting the right things done and getting the hard things done. And in order to do that, we have to have somebody who is committed to not go back there and compromise on principle over and over and over to say that they passed a bunch of bills and they got a bunch of stuff done. We need people who will fight the difficult fights, who recognize the time that we are in and the difficulty that the coming years will bring for every one of us, whether we choose to actually address these issues or not. The only question that we have as a country is whether we will make those decisions now or whether we will be forced to make these decisions later. I much prefer to put aside all of the silly fluff and all of the compromise on principle that our politicians have spent at least the past 40 years doing, which, by the way, has worked out really well for them and hasn't worked out so well for the American people. And I think it's time, thank you. I think it's time that we elect somebody who is committed to go back there and do the work of the American people. Because guess what? My children, and I'm hoping someday to have grandchildren, I do send threatening texts to my children about this, but my children and my grandchildren and your grandchildren deserve something far better than what we are leaving for them right now. And by the way that we restore this nation is strong families, strong homes, and a faith and belief in God who has given us everything that we have. And until we say it, acknowledge it, clearly, publicly, and privately, we will not restore what our founders gave us. Thank you.
thank you to all of our U.S. Senate candidates. And at this part of the program, Summit County is actually split between two U.S. congressional districts. We have John Curtis's district, which is Deer Valley and to the south, and we have Blake Moore in District 1, who is the northern part of our county. So this is normally the part of the program where Blake Moore will be speaking, but he is not able to be with us tonight. He's actually in Washington at work. So do we have anyone speaking as a substitute for Blake? I didn't hear from the campaign if anyone was speaking. So I think we'll go ahead and move on to the next race. And next, I'd like to invite to the stage our candidates for Congressional District 3. These candidates are running for John Curtis's seat, since John is now running for U.S. Senate. And we have a number of candidates in this race, and we appreciate all of the candidates who are up. We have J.R. Bird, who is the mayor of Roosevelt, Utah. We have Zach Wilson. We have Utah State Senator Mike Kennedy, Case Lawrence, and Utah Auditor John Frugal Dougal. And I do have to pause for a minute here to wish a happy birthday to Kara Birkland and also to John Dougal. It was both of them. We have the same birthday, so happy birthday to both of you. So I'd like to invite all of you CD3 candidates up to the stage. And we will start tonight with J.R. Bird, Mayor of Roosevelt.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure being with you tonight. I'm so grateful to be here. Melanie, thank you so much for putting this on in the Republican Party here in Summit County. The first thing we've got to do is turn Summit County red. I know a lot of people have been working hard to do that, and we have to work together as a Republican Party to make that happen. I'm J.R. Bird. I was born and raised in the Uinta Basin. Came from nothing, self-made man, started my first business in the oil and gas industry over 16 years ago, became the mayor of my hometown over 6 years ago. Now I have a question. Who in here wants to root out corruption at the federal level? Who in here thinks term limits is a good idea? Yeah. So one of the things that I was able to do before I became mayor, I ran for city council. And the reason is to give back to the community because it was my civic duty. And you know, I found the opposite when I ran. I found it ran straight into a good old boys club. And saw that they were spending taxpayers' money without being transparent. Saw that they had behind the closed doors meetings. It really bothered me. It took 6 years, 6 long years battling that. The difference is they were all Republicans. That was a difficult situation. But we were able to root out corruption. 2 years after I became mayor, we got that council voted out. We got a new council voted in. The first thing that we did, charged to implement term limits that we have now. We talk about that as elected officials. We've actually done it. I've actually done it as a mayor. Some other things about me, having the experience that I do in the oil and gas sector over 23 years, coming from rural Utah where I understand public lands, tribal issues, water issues, these are things that I've experienced my whole life. These are the experiences that I want to take to Washington and make sure that I represent you and the rest of rural Utah and urban Utah. These are the things that I know and have lived. One of the things that I think is important, we know we're at a $34 trillion budget. As a mayor, we balance our budget, pass budget every single year. We work with our government departments, our department heads, work through the budget, we cut the wants and make sure we have enough for the needs, and we do that every year. We need to follow the proper budgetary process at the federal level. I would implement legislation or push legislation that would tie Congress's hands, that would not allow them to work on anything else other than the budget until the budget is passed. The other thing that I would want to do is push for single subject legislation. Do you know 41 out of the 50 states do this. 41 out of the 50 state legislatures do this. I will do this if I go back to Washington. One thing I will say, birdforcongress.com, let's give Washington the bird and get something done.
Evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. My name is Zach Wilson. I'm running for Congressional District 3. First, I just want to say thank you to Melanie, to Rod, to Jimmy, to Katie, to everyone who's been helping out tonight. Thank you so much. Really wonderful evening. Secondarily, I want to say thank you to the state delegates who are here tonight. I invited a lot of my young friends to attend caucus for their first time ever. I had a guy from work come up to me and say, caucus was so great. For the first time since junior high, I've said the Pledge of Allegiance, and I got the goosebumps. There's nothing more American than the caucus night, so thank you for being a state delegate and a county delegate. I'm going to tell you who I'm not, and then I'm going to tell you who I am. Some of you are still getting to know me, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you. I am not the BYU quarterback who now plays for the Jets. I might be able to throw better than him, but I'm also not Brad Wilson's son. That's the other common misconception here. But I will tell you who I am. I'm Zach Wilson. I'm 29 years old. I'm a convention-only candidate. I am running to inspire new voices and to restore old values. How do I do that? Let's break it down a little bit. One, we need to return our government's focus to limited government, separation of powers, and federalism. These are things that I hold deep into my core. That's my North Star of political decisions. They all go back to those three things. We could solve so many of our country's issues if we would return to that. Limited government, separation of powers, federalism. We could go into all those. We don't have enough time. Thank you for keeping us on track here, by the way. The border, spending, so much of this gets back to those core issues. Second, I'm running to rein in our spending addiction. I work at a private equity firm. I studied finance at BYU. I was president of the Finance Society when I was there. It was an incredible experience. After I graduated, I moved out to New York City, which is actually where I served my mission, and worked for a large bank there. My team managed billions of dollars. It was an incredible experience. I now work for a private equity firm, as I mentioned. I moved back about 4 years ago. I understand this stuff deeply. Inflation, rates, Federal Reserve. I get this in a way that most do not. And so I'm excited to take that energy and that excitement and go back to Washington, D.C. The last reason, and perhaps the most important reason I'm running, I am running to restore a sense of American idealism in young people. Thank you. Utah is the youngest state in the country. Congressional District 3 is the youngest district of the youngest state in the country. By 2028, that's not 30 years from now, that's 4 years from now, that's the next presidential cycle. Over half of the state voters in Utah will be young millennials, all of Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. I don't even know what that is, and much less how they believe. But I will be able to relate to these young people in a way that no one else in the race can. I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be here. Delegates, thank you. You're the special heroes of tonight, and I would appreciate your support. Zach Wilson, Congressional District 3. Thank you so much.
Summit County, it's great to be with you. I'm Mike Kennedy, State Senator. And Melanie, thank you to you and your leadership team. It's been an outstanding event. I'm grateful to be here. So it's a real privilege to stand before you as a small business owner. When I hire somebody for jobs in my business, I want work experience. So I'm here to share with you as you consider what is my work experience. So I'll just go through a few things. I'm a family doctor, I'm an attorney, I'm a 10-year state legislator, part-time legislator, most of the time, amongst everybody else. The rules that we set here in the state, I comply with those rules just like everybody else. So in addition to that, central bank digital currency, you may have heard of that, where the federal government can flip a switch and turn off your dollar bills at their whim. I banned that along with my representative colleague in the state of Utah. So that's one thing that I offer to you. Second thing that I offer to you, remember COVID, well, after walking into COVID, I saw the fraud, the abuse, the malintent associated with a lot of people. And I banned, along with my representative colleagues, mask mandates and vaccine passports in this state. That's another work experience component. You're hiring somebody for a job. When it comes to transgender surgeries on minors, normal body parts being cut off of our children in the state of Utah. I was the chief architect of the bill to ban transgender surgeries on minors in the state of Utah. In my work resume, as you consider hiring me to be your U.S. Congressman. But if that's not enough, a lot of people ask me, why on earth would I give up? They ask me on the campaign trail this all the time. Why are you running for Congress? To go to Washington, D.C., one of the most functional places on the planet, to work on things, problems that are almost insurmountable. We have a national debt that we all know is a critical problem. Our government spends money like a drunken sailor, but at least the drunken sailor has the intentions to spend their own money. They're spending our money in Washington, D.C. It's shocking. These are insurmountable. But I'll just say to you, every day I wake up, I have a new day. It is spring in the valley. It's still winter up here. My goodness, you have 6 feet of snow out there. But it's spring, and spring is coming. There's hope for our country. The United States of America is the most blessed country in the history of the planet. And you and I, all of us know, we need to fight for this place. I'm Mike Kennedy. I'm running for U.S. Congress because I have 8 children, I have 8 grandchildren, and I see with optimism hope for our future, that when we work together, we can make this place better. And I'm seeking to be hired for this job because I have work experience that's practical, and I will work for you. I'm Mike Kennedy. I'd love to earn your vote. Thank you very much for having me today.
I'm not Case. I'm John Dougal, Frugal Dougal, your state auditor. I want to ask you a favor. There's a push in the legislature to put the auditor, the attorney general, and the treasurer under the thumb of either the legislature or the government. Are you aware of this? Exactly. There's a reason why I work for you, and there's a reason why governors continue to want to try and put the auditor under their thumb. I'm your watchdog. Is that what you want? 12 years ago, when I ran for auditor, I wanted to change the office from a quiet, sleepy watchdog that roots out waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption, that brings greater transparency to what your government's doing so you can hold it accountable. I need your help to tell legislators that you want to keep your vote. You want to keep your voice. You want to keep electing the auditor, the treasurer, and the attorney general. Will you help me with that? Will you tell your friends and neighbors? That is critical right now. It's not just the current governor, the previous governor, the ones before him continue to try and do this. They try and silence your voice. They do not want a watchdog in the auditor's office. That's what you deserve. And you deserve a watchdog in Congress. Can you name a single budget hawk back there? We talked about $34.6 trillion. Click, keeps growing. You need a watchdog in Congress. You need somebody with a proven track record of identifying what's going on. There's a reason they call me cut, cap, and kill when I served in the legislature. I want to tell you something. Anybody here ever? He wrote an essay. He's a French economist from the 1850s. He wrote about that which is seen, that which is not seen. Politicians love to celebrate how they spend your money because people can see that. They forget how you would have spent your money otherwise if they hadn't forced you to pay it. Raise your hand if you wake up every morning saying, I want to pay more taxes. One time I spoke with one guy, actually raised his hand, and I went up and asked him, and he said, oh, misunderstood the question. They don't understand how you would have spent the money otherwise if they hadn't been so destructive in forcing you to pay those taxes. You need somebody who has been preaching that for decades, defending you. Joe Biden thinks this is the greatest economy America's ever seen. Ronald Reagan said, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant, it's just so much of what they know that just isn't so. That's why I'm running for Congress. Vote frugal. Thank you so much. And thank you for the preparation.
All right, thank you to our Congressional District 3 candidates. And we've gotten word from Wasatch County that Case Lawrence's son is actually speaking over there, and he is on his way, and he's hoping to join us a little later. So we'll be looking forward to that later on. And next up, we've got to, I've also gotten word, and just in the last few minutes, that Marlo Oakes is ill, and he's on our agenda, but he will not be able to join us tonight, unfortunately. So we'd like to welcome to the stage next our candidates for Attorney General, and we're grateful to have all 4 of the candidates for Attorney General here tonight. Rachel Terry, Derek Brown, Frank Mylar, and Trent Christensen. There you are. So we look forward to hearing from each of them. And I'd also like to invite to the stage, because our candidates do want to get over to Wasatch County, I'd like to invite Tina Horlacher, who is running for the Republican National Committee. Utah gets, we have 3 representatives on the Republican National Committee, and Tina is asking for your vote to be one of those. And that'll be for the delegates voting at the state convention. So, let's see, is Tina still here? Is she? Okay, there you are. Okay, Tina, so we'd like to invite you to come up when you're ready, and you'll be speaking with this group, and we look forward to hearing from you. Oh, Kim is here also. Oh, okay, Kim, I'm sorry, I didn't know that Kim was here. Kim is also running for National Committee, so please, we'd like to invite Kim up to the stage. Thank you to each of our candidates, and we'll get started with Rachel Terry.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me be here with you. My name is Rachel Terry, and I'm running for Attorney General. Thank you. Oh, I'll take applause. I'll take any applause if you go. So, I have been talking to a lot of delegates. I had a Zoom call with 100 delegates, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm so grateful you're here. And people ask me many of the same questions, so I'm going to answer them for you here tonight. The first is, what are my qualifications? I'm a Utah attorney who's been representing Utah clients in Utah courts for 20 years. I spent 7 years at the Attorney General's office as a civil rights litigator, handling some of the most significant cases in our state's history. Now I'm the director of the Utah Division of Risk Management, which is the coolest state agency you've never heard of. We work on all the hardest, all the craziest cases, litigation, and claims you could ever hear of. Anything from a freezer full of eyeballs that melted, if you want to know how much that's worth, it's $1.5 million, to the saddest cases involving injuries, death, and sexual assault. I've been sitting with the hard, heavy work for the state of Utah for over a decade. And the second question then is, why am I running? So I'll tell you first how I told my husband that I'm selling this, and then I'll tell you the real reason. I said, Justin, I want to apply for a super cool job, and I'm going to have to ask strangers for money to get it. And then if I get the job, everyone's going to be really mean to me. And he said, that sounds awesome, let's do it. And that's why he's at Wasatch, getting ready to give a speech for me. That was not his scene. The real reason is I love this work. I've been doing it for a decade. Much of what I'm doing right now is very similar to what the Attorney General will do. I work on cases. I've lived in the law and litigation. I work on settlements. I work on policy. I work on budgeting. I work on all of the things that you need your Attorney General to be able to do, and I'm really good at it. And when I say I'm a fiscal conservative, I mean it. I've already cut $3 million from my budget. I work with the governor's office and the legislature to create an entirely new program that will save you tens of millions of dollars. The third question everyone asks, thank you. I think it's a big deal, guys. It's a big deal. Thank you. The third question is, should the Attorney General be appointed? What do you think? All right, it's a dumb idea, and we're not going to do it, and I will fight any effort to take away your voice. The fourth question is, am I getting signatures? No. Delegates, not dollars, should decide who moves on to the next round of interviews. I'm a conventional delegate. And finally, who's supporting me? I'm endorsed by Attorney General Ken Paxton, sheriffs across the state, county commissioners, city managers, city officials, the Washington County attorney, and many others. And one other that I'm grateful for is former General Brian Target. And why am I running? Because when I fight for Utah, Utah wins. So I'm Rachel Terry, thank you.
I'm Frank Myler, and I'm running for Attorney General. My wife of 36 years, Debbie, is back here, and my youngest of 5 children, Rebecca, is also back there. And I also have 5 grandchildren. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I'm running for Attorney General, is I'm the only candidate, and you can mark this down, that has actually been in the trenches, fighting in the courts, constitutional issues for people just like you. Nobody else on this stage has done that. I've been doing it day in and day out on just about every important constitutional issue there is. Just a couple weeks ago, someone called me up and said, Frank, we need you to file a case to fight federal encroachment in the U.S. Supreme Court. I'm filing it this week. No one's going to the other candidates and say, hey, help me with this constitutional issue. Everyone likes to say they're constitutional attorneys. The question is, talk is cheap. What have you really done in the trenches? I'm endorsed by most of the sheriffs in the state, Weber County Attorney and other county attorneys as well. I'm endorsed by the American Moms, and I'm also won the endorsement of the Veterans GOP the other day. I'm gaining endorsements as we go along, as more people get to know the facts of this race, and that is that substance over just good speaking. Do not feel fooled by good speeches. This is a substance position where you need an attorney that really knows what in the world they're doing. And you can, I call it trust experience, because I've been working with the Alliance Defending Freedom for over 20 years. I'm an honor guard attorney with that organization. When COVID came, they came to me and said, Frank, we need you to help fight for religious exemptions for the vaccine. I fought for everyone. By God's grace, we won every one of them, including for my daughter, Rachel. I've also, in the trenches, fought for pro-life issues day in and day out. They call me all the time for pro-life issues. When people were prosecuted in Salt Lake City for merely exercising their free speech rights on a sidewalk in front of an abortion clinic, I defended them in court at trial. We won. I never charged them a dime. This is the key. You look at what they've done in the trenches when they weren't being paid. That shows the mark of an attorney. A legislator, you look at what they've done in the past. As an attorney, you look at what cases they fought in the courts. I will continue fighting for women's sports, fighting for bathrooms with no exemptions for children and for everyone, and also be fighting the feds because I've been doing it the last 36 years.
Great, thank you. My name is Derek Brown. I appreciate you being here. I'm running for Attorney General. I appreciate these other great candidates who are running, and I also appreciate our state party or the county party leadership. I served as the state party chair for a number of years. Actually, it was during COVID. It was a rather rough couple of years. I was 6'2" when I got elected, and you see what happened. Well, we actually used to joke that Republicans were an endangered species in your county. So thank you for doing what you do. I know you're on the front lines of the battle. I've seen it. Being party chair was actually sort of a full-time free job, and one of the reasons that I am running for Attorney General is because we have a problem. It's a problem that you all know and we know, and it's called federal encroachment into Utah. Federalism is the most important check that we have as a state. It's one of the most oft forgotten checks that we have as a state. Let me just put this in perspective. We have, as a country, the real power in this country is being exercised by mid-level bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., and we need an Attorney General who knows how to push back against that. And let me bring, and yeah, I mean, this is, and let me tell you a little bit of, just to put it in perspective. I used to work, I was in the House of Representatives. I left when I was asked by my former law partner and law colleague, Senator Lee, to run his Utah offices. I mean, is there anything we couldn't do in this country if we had 50 Senator Lees in office? Really? So Senator Lee, he's endorsed me in this race. This is the only race that I know of that he's engaged in. But as you walk in his DC office, let me just put this in perspective. We had a cabinet there. Have any of you ever been to his office in DC? And a few of you, when you walk in, there's this cabinet. On top of the cabinet, it was every law passed by Congress the previous year, about 600 pages. In the cabinet was every agency regulation issued during the same year, roughly 60,000 pages. So for every 1 page of laws Congress passes, there are 100 pages of regulations. This is how the Biden administration advances a climate agenda, right? You saw what the EPA did with mandating hybrid and electric cars a few weeks ago. This is where we're going as a country, and we need an attorney general who will push back. And let me just close by saying this. A number of years ago, the Supreme Court issued an opinion in a case, and I actually did not like, as a conservative, I hated the opinion because it dealt with the Obamacare ruling. But here's what it said, and it was Chief Justice Roberts who made this comment, and he said, states are separate and independent sovereigns. Sometimes they need to act like it. My friends, that's why I'm running to be AG. Utah needs an attorney general who knows how to help Utah act like the sovereign it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Summit County Republicans. My name is Trent Christensen. I'm running for Utah Attorney General. I am an America First candidate. I am a constitutional conservative. I am a convention-only candidate, and as your next Attorney General, I am going to drain the Salt Lake Swamp. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. We have a culture of corruption in this state, not just the federal government, but in this state, because we have an utter lack of election integrity in this state, and that's what I'm going to do on day one. We've heard about it. We've heard about the governor's attempt to appoint the attorney general, but let me tell you why that's so important. I have to take a little brief issue with something that was just said. Federalism is not the most important check against the federal government. The attorney general is the most important check, most powerful check you have against the state, against the federal government, against the county governments. That is the most important check against the other branches and officers of government. But it only works if it's an attorney general that's willing to stand up and throw those punches. So let me tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it. The first thing I'm going to do, election integrity. We are going to start on day one a full statewide audit of Utah's electoral system. I'm going to look at the ballots, the mail-in ballots, the machines. I'm going to talk to the county clerk. I'm going to talk to the staff. We are going to find out what's happening in this state, and then I'm going to bring it to you. And you and I are going to go together in the legislature. We're going to say, this isn't working, this is what is working, and these are the people that need to go to jail, and we're going to fix it right now. Number two, I'm going to be the top cop. Okay, the Attorney General, you all know this is the chief legal enforcement officer of the state, but that does not make him it does not make him the state's attorney, it makes him your attorney against the power of the state when necessary. I've said it time and again, the county sheriffs, who are the only members of law enforcement that are popularly elected by you, they are the tip of the spear, but the Attorney General is the spear, and they have to work together to enforce your individual rights. Right now, there's no relationship, really, between the State Attorney General's office and those that enforce your individual rights, the county sheriffs. I will repair that relationship so that we can go out and secure our border and keep your family safe. That's number three. I will not allow my children or yours to grow up in a state that acts like a sanctuary state, that allows illegals into our state, that allows fentanyl to go freely up and down I-15. That will stop the Trent Christensen administration. Now, let me tell you how I'm going to do those things, okay? That's a vision of what needs to happen in the future. And it's based off the experience that I have in the past. We've heard a lot about experience. I have experience. I grew up in Salt Lake. I went to BYU Law School. I graduated top 10% of my class. I went back east, practiced law, complex business litigation, appellate litigation, and I did pro bono work protecting parental rights, protecting parents to get their kids back when the state comes and steals them to enforce their own agenda. That's what I've done. And unless you have fought the state, not just fought for the state, but literally fought against the state, you don't know what the power and the resources the federal government has to come for you. I do, and that's how I'm going to fix it for you. Thank you. Now, the most important thing, I have 4 kids, 14 to 12. I will not allow them or your kids to grow up in a state that acts like California and becomes California in 5 or 10 years. I will not let them grow up in a sanctuary state. I will not let them grow up in a state where the federal government can come in with impunity, take our lands, take our rights, and then tell us that we ought to be grateful for the opportunity, okay? I will do that as your Attorney General. If you want to see a contrast between all 4 of us, go to TrentChristensen.com and look at the debate that happened last month. There was a debate, all 4 of us was there, it was great. Go look at it, TrentChristensen.com. I think you'll vote for me, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Hello to, let's see, where are we tonight? We are in Summit County. All right, I'm Tina Horlocker, and I'm running to be your Republican National Committee woman. And I would like to ask you, why are you a Republican? For myself, I will tell you the reasons why I feel like I'm a Republican, at least the most important parts. We are the party of the Declaration of Independence, which sets forth fundamental precepts of American government. That God bestows certain inalienable rights on every individual. The government exists first and foremost to protect those inalienable rights. That if those rights come into conflict with man-made law, inalienable rights always prevail. Moral law is recognized as the laws of nature and nature's God. We're also the party of the Constitution, the greatest political document ever written. And we are far from both of these documents. These words found in our platform are fundamental to both our party and our nation, and it proves that from our birth, we have been a Christian nation. I'm a Republican because I'm a mother of 10 children, and I want the future of my children and my 4 grandchildren to be one nation under God that is prosperous, protected, and a land of liberty. Most certainly, America is under attack, and with it, the Christian faith. Biden's declaration on Easter Sunday was further proof of this. The last 4 years have been a literal takedown of the bulwarks of our liberty. If we do not stand up to the onslaught, all will be lost. The RNC is a private political party that is meant to function as a watchdog. They have been failing as their only priority is to get Republicans elected. I sit in many meetings where we talk about getting Republicans elected, but let me ask, what good does it do to get Republicans elected when those Republicans go and vote like Democrats? The party has not been representing you, and it has not been representing me, and it needs to be reformed. With new leadership and a solid committee, reform is possible. Why I am running for the Republican National Committee woman is because I have been prepared for this moment. I have all of the needed skills and qualifications to be your next committee woman. But what is more important is that I have proven that I will stand up and stand out against the Marxist agenda adopted by the Democrat Party and the Gold, which is undermining our nation and robbing us of our liberties. How will I do this? I have a simple idea: to build a scorecard sponsored by the Republican Party, depending on which level you're at, based on our platform, that will grade our elected officials according to their votes, thus performing our watchdog responsibility and helping you to hold your elected officials accountable. Finally, as a former county chair and an 8-year member of the State Central Committee, I fought valiantly against SB 54. As an SEC member, I have worked hard to keep elections at the state convention transparent and verifiable, and as a whole and auditable. I am involved with efforts to reform voting in Utah, the same-day voting with ID and paper ballots counted without machines. And I would like to take this battle to the RNC for without election integrity. Thank you. Please vote for Tina Horlocker, Republican National Committee woman.
Hello, Summit County. It's great to be with you tonight. I'm Kim Coleman. I'm running for the RNC National Committee woman. And many of you already know me as someone with an established record of conservatism. I served in the Utah House of Representatives for 6 years, where I earned CPAC's lifetime top 10 most conservative legislators. And so I've demonstrated who I am when it comes to what I believe in. And I've been a very outspoken, I have lots of content out there, so it's not just a speech tonight. You have heard me for years and what I believe in. The reason why I'm running for this is because it's time to take our party back from the uniparty, the globalists, and every left-leaning hijacking of our American institutions. This is vital, it's existential. The RNC has been failing us. It's been losing ground on message, on strategy, and frankly, on identity. So it's time to bring conservatism back to the RNC, make the RNC great again. We, as your current state party vice chair, our team has raised We're on trajectory for $1 million. A big part of this job is to assist the party with raising money. We have $400,000 in our federal account, which we don't think has ever happened. So I bring my fundraising capabilities to this office. The other things the RNC does is we plan presidential conventions, which we need to bring one to Utah. I just don't love it happening in Salt Lake City. However, we need to bring one to Utah. The other thing is we plan and facilitate presidential debates. We should never, ever subject our presidential candidates to hostile facilitators on hostile networks who don't like us. That will never happen if I'm serving on the RNC. Some of the initiatives the RNC are doing that are very good. On the Dana was gone. They have new leadership, and so I will round out an excellent team that has just come into place. One of their first great decisions was to hire Scott Pressler, because the RNC is finally going to take election integrity seriously. We're also having initiatives around attracting our youth. So a lot of youth engagement, so we're not losing our college Republicans, young Republicans, and teenage Republicans. If anybody's ever had a son, I've had two that have tried to start a Republican club in their high school, and we're told they couldn't unless a Democrat club started. First Amendment issues for you guys over here. So I'm ready to go to RNC. I bring my conservative bona fides, I bring my fundraising ability, and I'll come back and report to you the success of a new RNC. Thank you.
Next up on our agenda, we have our candidates for Utah Auditor, Tina Cannon and Ricky Hatch. And our current auditor, of course, is John Duval, who is now running for Congress. So we will have an open seat there in the Office of Utah Auditor, and we're appreciative of Tina Cannon and Ricky Hatch for being willing to take that on and running for those seats. So with that, I'll hand the mic off to Tina.
Thank you. Thank you, Summit County. It's great to be here. We're neighbor counties. I'm right over the hill in Morgan County. So it's good to be here tonight. So I was noticing from the back that the lighting is a little weird. And so if I move to where the light is in my eye, I am really concerned that you won't see me up here. I had my favorite question on the campaign trail. I had someone say, "Are you sure you're tall enough to be the state auditor?" Yeah, I'm the perfect size to be the state auditor. Really? Are you serious? Yeah, they never see me coming. Thank you. So I'm Tina Cannon. I'm running for state auditor. Why? So I spent 28 years in accounting. I have my degree in accounting. My emphasis was management accounting, where you go in and analyze a corporation or a company, see what's not going right, and then make recommendations for how to change it. So that's pretty much what we do now in the auditor's office. When I sold my company, John Dougal found out I was retired, and he reached out and said, "I don't think you should be retired." So I've been in the office just under 2 years now, and my background is tax. Now, why that matters to you? I spent 28 years sitting across my desk telling people how much money they have to pay to the federal and state government. And I can tell you that the majority of people will pay more in state taxes than they will in federal taxes. And I can tell you why that happens. We tax income, sales tax, and property tax in Utah. That is not usual. I've done taxes for every state in the nation. Utah is unique in those three. There are some who do it, but not very many. Where does that matter for you? I know whose money this is. I'm watching out for it every day. Your money, be extremely careful with it, or we should give it back. And it's that simple. So John talked about the independence of the office. That is very, very real. So the last week of the session, they actually wrote our office out of the Capitol. So that happens when you are an independent auditor. That means you say the tough things. When John Doolittle was elected, 800 out of 1,000 state agencies were non-compliant in their financial reporting. That was under the last CPA. Why is that a problem? Because it makes an opportunity for waste, fraud, and especially fraud. So what John did is he came into the office and he said, you will either be compliant or we will not distribute your state funding. What that does, guess how many are compliant? 100% are compliant today. What I have learned from John, the most important quality in a state auditor is a backbone. You have to be willing to say the tough thing and say it repeatedly. I'm Tina Cannon. I'm asking for your support on April 27th at the state convention. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ricky Hatch. I'm running for state auditor. Every audit begins with 2 lies. The first one is when the auditor says, I'm here to help. And the second one is when those who are being audited say, we're glad you're here. Well, I'm running for state auditor. This room has symbols in it. We've got 2 beautiful flags that symbolize our country and our state so well. And symbols are important. And there's one symbol that stands out for its simplicity and its purpose, and that is the pocket protector. While it's not nearly as heavy or weighty as the symbol of a cross or the flags or a dove, it does symbolize diligence and intellect. As your state auditor, I will be the ultimate pocket protector for you, safeguarding your assets against waste, fraud, and abuse. I have a 3-decade-long track record of auditing across various sectors, including the past 13 years as the county auditor, actually up in Weber County. So I not only talk the talk, but I have walked the walk for nearly 3 decades. My mission is clear: to provide transparency, accountability, and efficiency in government. In other words, to protect your pockets from waste, fraud, and from abuse. But I'm more than just an audit nerd. I'm a leader. I was elected president of the Utah Association of Counties. I serve on the National Association of Counties Board of Directors. I've testified before Congress twice. And I serve on the Advisory Council for Auditor Doolittle. When he was first elected back in 2012, he asked me to sit on that advisory council, and I've been on that for the past 11 years. Trust me, you want to elect a nerdy accountant as your next state auditor. If you have any questions about how I've worked with state legislators and with others, please feel free, ask Kara Nielsen, Kara Birkeland, representative, or John Johnson, in the Senate. They can talk to you about what it's like to work with me on good legislation that strengthens internal controls. So you want me as a nerdy auditing CPA to be your pocket protector, your next state auditor. I'm Ricky Hatch, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you to Tina and Ricky, and they are headed off to Wasatch County. I had some inquiries about whether we'd be able to do Q&A tonight, and although we would have liked to do so with this number of candidates, county convention's a little different, and they have a tradition of holding convention the same night as Wasatch County so that candidates can do both of the conventions in one night. And as a result, our candidates have mostly had to head out, and they're on their way over to Wasatch County, so we won't be able to do Q&A tonight. However, we will have more candidate events coming up, and those will be smaller events where we will have opportunities for Q&A. So I encourage you to join us for those, and we'll send out emails for those as well. So next up, I'd like to invite our next group of candidates up to the stage. We have our candidates for County Council, Tori Welch and Ari Ioannidis, and we have Jane Earl, who is our representative on the state school board for Northern Summit County, and we've got We have our state senator, John Johnson, who represents us at the Utah Capitol. And we have our representative, Kara Berkeley, who is our representative in the Utah legislature. So please welcome each of these candidates. These are candidates who are not going to Wasatch County, and so that's why they're still here because they don't have to go to Wasatch County. But each of the roles that they play and that the races, the seats that they're running for are very important. On our Summit County Council, we have a situation where we have not had a Republican on the council since 2017. Our taxes have skyrocketed. We've had development proposals trying to be pushed through, like Dakota Pacific, that are just fundamentally so wrong for our community. And we just had runaway spending at the county level with no real checks and balances and no one who seems to be willing to say no. And what we need balance on our county council. We need to elect Republicans to the Summit County Council. So I look forward to hearing from Tori and Ari, and I really appreciate them stepping up to run.
Great, thanks, Melanie, and thank you, delegates. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad I get the opportunity to speak to you. You guys are awesome, the ones who are willing to step up and lead for your communities. And I'm grateful to speak to you tonight. And so I'm going to start with, I got a couple things. Number one is I'm just going to give you the message that I've been trying to get out to folks, which is a little bit about me and why I'm running. And it all starts from a place of gratitude. And my gratitude stems from my experiences in life. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. I spent 15 years there as a kid, and there's millions of people there, and it's really hot. And if you've never been there, then you're good. It's okay. So there's a reason I don't live there anymore. There's a reason that I choose to live here. It's because this is a good place to live. Phoenix is, in my opinion, not a great place to live. Beyond that, beyond my childhood, I spent 5 years in the Army, 2 years in Iraq. So I've been to places where we don't want to go. I know what it looks like when things really get bad. I know what it looks like when things are kind of bad, but I know what things look like when it really goes south. And that's where my gratitude stems from. I love my country. I love this state. I love this county. And like I said, this is a good place to live. I was a lineman for Rocky Mountain Power for almost a decade. And I also got the opportunity when I worked for them to go all over the state. I've been in many different communities. I've lived in over a dozen different places. And I can tell you what a good place looks like. And what we have here is a good thing. And I'm grateful for that. And that's why I'm running for county council. So the message there is that we have to have that gratitude, and we can't just expect that everything's going to stay the same and cross our fingers and hope that everything is good without taking action and being engaged. Okay, that's why I'm here to talk to you tonight. And that brings me to the second thing, is I have a request for you guys. Being delegates, I know you guys are the ones who are willing to step up and to get stuff done. So my request for you is fairly simple. Number one, you turn off the news. Okay, turn off the news. And number two, go talk to your neighbor. When you get over to your neighbor's house, tell them to turn off the news too, because that makes the conversation much easier. Now, if your neighbor's a Republican, the job's fairly simple. I need you to tell them that we have an opportunity to put 2 Republicans on the county council. There are 5 positions. 0 of them are Republicans. So if they're Republican, then make sure that they know that county council exists. Make sure they know that they have the opportunity to get some Republican representation from the east side of the county, conservatives, and that they need to get out and vote, and that it's important. And if they want real representation, if they want their community to remain a good place to live, it takes action. And what we have here is a good thing, but it's not guaranteed. It can and will go away. All right. If they are not Republicans, if they're Democrats, I need you to engage in a conversation with them. I need you to do a little bit of finding out for me. If they are totally captured by the woke mind virus, then I'm probably not going to get their vote, and that's okay. If they are willing to have a conversation with you, which honestly, if we've turned off the news, we'll find that most of them are willing to engage in a conversation with you. We will have major differences, and that's okay. But if they're willing to talk to you, then that gives me an opportunity. If they're willing to have a discussion about some of the basic fundamentals, when it really comes down to it, at least very least at the local issues, they care about the same things that we care about at a fundamental level. And that's they want a good, safe community where they can raise their family and be reasonably free to pursue their happiness. Yeah, we all want that. How we get there, we've got some differences, but that's where I come in, okay? That's my job. If they're willing to have that conversation, send them my way. Let's hold a town hall. Let's have a fireside. Let's have some donuts and some pancakes or whatever. Let's give them the opportunity to at least find out whether or not I'm really evil because I have an R next to my name. I think I can convince them that that's not the case. And now is the best time that it's probably been in a very long time to make that case. Why? Well, we have a distinct advantage being Republicans. That's our ideas work. And their ideas, being progressive ideas, are actively harming communities around the country right now. My opponent is a Democrat from LA. He's a Hollywood attorney. Why isn't he in LA? Well, because LA sucks. Okay, so there's a reason that those blue states are losing population, literally shrinking compared to our red states, because they're coming to places like Utah and Florida and Texas, because we know what a good place looks like. Okay, so those folks that are willing to have that conversation, I need the opportunity to speak to them. You'll have an idea about if they're, how willing they are to have that conversation, if they still care about things like basics, like freedom of speech. That used to be a liberal pillar. It used to be the left's thing, is freedom of speech. Unfortunately, the Democrat Party has left those people behind. So maybe they'll be open to coming on over to the Republican Party, where arms are wide open. Okay, let's have that conversation. If they still care about things like girls and women's rights, okay, that used to be the domain of the feminists. Okay, now that's our thing. If they still care about the rights of their little girl and the safety and comfort in the locker room over the rights of some middle-aged man with gender confusion, then hey, let's have that conversation. Okay. Thank you, because these are the issues that matter, and these are the issues that we feel, the local ones. All these candidates that are wanting to go to Washington, D.C., they're important and they're cool and all that, but they're going to do their thing no matter what, and the local issues are the ones that you're going to feel. They're the ones that when you go and talk to your friends and your neighbors, these are the issues that you're talking about. These are the ones that you feel at the school, at church, at the grocery store. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I need your guys' help. And we have the opportunity to have some real representation for Eastern, rural Summit County and conservatives. And I need you to go out and find those reasonable people, and let's have a conversation, and let's get some representation at the county. Tori Welch from SummitCountyCouncil.com. That's TORYWELCH. And go to my Facebook page and share it, and let's get the word out, and let's return Summit County to sanity. Thank you.
Thank you for staying. It's very impressive. You've done a great job applauding all the candidates here. You know who hasn't gotten applause yet? Melanie. Can you all give her a round of applause? She's done a great job. Thank you. Thank you for being here. My name's Ari Ioannidis. I'm running for Summit County Council C, and I'm running to give a voice for those in our community who feel disenfranchised and feel like they don't have a voice on the county council. When I was driving down here from Tollgate, I know what county I'm in. I was noticing the snow was melting, right? But that's not the only thing that's melting. I went to the Democratic convention last week, not because I'm a rhino, because I wanted to see what they were talking about. Y'all know what they were talking about? Any idea? They stood up on stage and were bragging about how there wasn't one Republican elected official in our county, not just on the county council, but nowhere in the county has a Republican holding a seat right now who's running a Republican. That's melting, starting tonight. And you've got to help me do that. How are we going to do that? Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. I've been in Park City for about 18 years. I've worked on the Park City Education Foundation. I was on the executive committee. I was president of the Board of Recycle Utah. I worked with Summit County Power Works to put a solar panel initiative here in Summit County. I was executive director of a performing arts group Park City Institute. I hope you guys all go to a show. I started a nonprofit that gave inner city students the ability to learn how to code, 1 million of them. So when I stood up at Rotary and said I was a Republican running for office, they were shocked. What do you mean? You love the environment? You love kids? You created open space? You started an inner city program? And actually you're a pretty nice guy. How could you possibly be a Republican? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what a Republican looks like. Because we use private money to do what government is trying to do. And that's what I've done all my career. If you send me to the Summit County Council, that's what I'll do. Now, I've been going around the county talking to people, and they've been telling me what worries them and what's important to them. When I talk to the mayors in the independent towns that are on the east side, they say they want to make sure that any development that's on the borders of their towns matches their development codes and meets the needs of their community. When I talk to the people in the Snyderville Basin, they say, we want development that affects the people who already live here, that benefits us. We don't want people coming in here and adding sprawl and more traffic to what we already have, right? And while we're talking about that, I'm a tech entrepreneur. I ran a company that wrote software for local government, so I know a little thing about local government. When they set aside that land for tech, I'll tell you something with tech entrepreneurs all over this country you're used to. We're used to cities and towns rolling out the red carpet. We're used to people giving us tax incentives. We're used to incentives to come in. We're not used to people coming in and saying, hey, we want a tech park here. You've got to build affordable housing. I'm not in the affordable housing business. I don't even know how to build affordable housing. I'm in the tech business. You're not going to have a tech center here when folks are fighting to come here. They'll go to places like Austin or down the hill. That was a mistake from the beginning. Anyway, I also want to say that, you know, people, I've heard from other folks in this town, I've heard from young parents. They want affordable care options for their students. I've heard from generational landowners who want to make sure their kids can grow up here. I've heard from teachers, firefighters, and first responders who want to live in our communities. You know, less than 1% of our firefighters live in our communities. And that's hard. We need to fix that. So, you know, some of the counties in our area are doing a great job. So do you want to hear what I care about? Thank you. I care about small government that works and prioritizes the needs of our community over feel-good initiatives. I care that when somebody says they're going to tax me, or we vote to tax for open space, that open space is actually in areas that are close to where development's happening, not far off. And that open space isn't where you're going to build affordable housing. Does that upset anybody here? I want to make sure that our taxes stay low and that we listen. I have listened to people. I want to listen to you. I will do what's right, and I'll hold back the Democrats that are in this area. We will melt this logjam once and for all, and then I'll open the door for other Republican things. How many people feel like it's time for a North Summit County Council seat? How does that sound? How many people feel like there should be a South Summit County Council seat? They can have one here in Snyderville Basin and Park City and two at large. What's going to happen then? I'll work to make sure that happens. So I need your help. And I did say I wanted to listen, so pull out your phones. Come on, pull out. Pull out your phones. Go to your contacts and add a contact. I'm going to do what no other political candidate did today. I'm going to give you my cell number because I want to hear from you. Ready? 435-288. .com, and you can get that too. I'm going to say it again. Ready? R-E-A-R-I. Don't worry about the last name. Look at all those letters. It's great. 435-288. I want to hear from from you. I'm running for Summit County Council seat. We will put a Republican up there. We will represent you. I need your help this November. Please vote.
Hello, Summit County. Thanks for coming out tonight. You guys are awesome. It's so cool to be able to meet with delegates. You guys are doing a great thing, and I'm glad that you show up at your local caucus meetings, that you really care about the state of our state. And, you know, we have a long ways to go. I'm John Johnson. I'm the current state senator. Senate District 3, which actually takes in half of Summit County, half of Morgan County. And I got it that first focus on education, changing our education program. I was the Senate Education Committee. And we've worked very, very hard on trying to education in this state. We increased dollars. We've had the largest payment every year. I have either co-sponsored or voted for a comprehensive tax restructuring, a cut in taxes. So we've cut income taxes. We have cut taxes on Social Security income. When I went in there, if you made over $35,000, you got taxed on your state of Utah. It's now been pushed up to $75,000. We eliminated tax on the retirement benefits for members of the military, retirees, that they no longer tax that. I have been at the battle against the woke ideologies that are in our public schools and our universities. We just passed this year a bill to eliminate DEI departments at the universities. We're not against diversity, we're not against inclusion, but we are against this ideology that comes with that whole package. And so we've worked hard to eliminate that. I had a bill this year that actually would force the universities to move back to a focus on Western civilizations and the great books in our college curriculum. That bill, actually, I started with an op-ed in the Deseret News that you should go read. The morning after that op-ed came out, there was a major story that came out in the National Review that said, "Can Utah save higher education?" That was then published in several other states. That bill, unfortunately, was voted down in committee. If you watch the Salt Lake Tribune today, they were complaining about the DEI, and they said the scarier thing is the bill that Senator Johnson put forward, changing the core curriculum. This is not about preaching a specific ideology. It's about, people ask me, they said, why are you fighting these culture wars? And I said, I'm not trying to end the culture wars. We're trying to pull back our universities and take control again. Not for my ideology, not for anybody's ideology, but be a place where we can debate serious issues, where we're students how to think and not what to think. And so I think there's a lot of that really form. Major universities they take a long time. There was a National Review article right after my bill fell in committee, and one of the comments I made was that the universities shouldn't consider this a threat. They shouldn't consider it a attack, but they should think about human mission. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to rescue our schools, our universities. People were complaining to me. I went at a local meeting in Park City here where one of the librarians for the Summit County schools and Park City schools, both of them were there, and they were complaining about what they called the book ban. And I had to explain to them, we're not banning books, okay? These books are still available at public libraries. They're still available at Amazon.com. You can go buy any of these books you want to. This is about protecting the innocence of our children in public schools. These books are absolutely disgusting. You should go to a site, there's all kinds of sites, parent sites online that actually shows you the content of some of these things. I was completely blown away when we talked about this bill in our Senate caucus meeting. We actually passed around a brown paper bag with excerpts from these books, and I was instructed that none of this discussion needed to leave that room, that we couldn't talk about it on the Senate floor. And I'm thinking, if these things are so bad that we can't talk about them on the Senate floor, and the press refuses to talk about them, then they probably don't belong in an elementary school. I would appreciate your support. I garnered a Democrat that's probably on as far left as I am on the right. And it's interesting. People ask me, why is Big Ed running against you? Why are they donating money to your opponent? And it's simply, it's not because I didn't fund the schools. It's not because I didn't focus on building a better education system. It's not because I didn't appreciate our teachers and the great work that they do, and the need to have more money funding the teachers and our schools, but it's because I promoted things like school choice so kids could leave failing schools. We provided this UFIT scholarship. In that scholarship, there actually is enough funding to fund 10,000 students. It's interesting. The last I looked, we have 15,000 applications. There's a lot of talk that there'll probably be as many as 40,000 applications for these scholarships. But the most incredible thing to me is these scholarships aren't for the children of rich parents that can already send their kids to private schools. Most of these are coming from kids that are in Charter I schools whose parents are concerned that they're not learning to read, they're not learning to write. If we really believed as a state in equity or equality of opportunity, we would teach kids to read, okay? Yeah. Black students in this state, only 12% are literate in reading. You look at the 10th grade scores. We had a massive amount of learning loss during COVID. Our rates are at about 49% statewide of kids that are actually learning how to read and how to write and how to do math. Hey, let's stop the focus on the culture wars. Let's stop the focus on SEL and CRT and other things like that. And let's focus on teaching kids to read and to write and to do math. I really appreciate Summit County. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. This is a hard county to be part of. I hope you support these people on the county council. It's time for us to take our state back, all right? One of the things that Carson said earlier that I thought was really important is we live in a supermajority Republican state, and the question is why are we all walking down the middle of the road and trying to appease people on the left? I appreciate you guys, and thank you very much. Again, my name is John Johnson, Senate District 3. I would really appreciate your support. Let's get out the vote. I don't have a Republican opponent, but I've got a Democrat opponent that is now being funded. I mean, you know, the day after I voted down the ridiculous $2 billion in spending for a hockey team and a baseball team, My opponent got donations over that vote. There are a lot of these things that sometimes we just have to do the right thing. And, you know, I just want to put in one last plug. You have one of the best school board members we have. Jenny is now in leadership. You know, she was very helpful, and we had a whole group of people across the state running conservatives for the state school board. We're continuing that fight. We now have a conservative majority on the state school board, and Jenny is in leadership now in the school board. They're doing fantastic things. We're working forward. And of course, Kara Birkland, I mean, talk about a rock there in supporting conservative causes. So thank you very much.
As y'all can tell, no one wants to speak on her. She is amazing. She is dynamic. She won't tout all the great things that the state board has turned out. But when I was 4 years ago, I hated our state school board for many reasons. I mean, I'm just going to be blunt, and please don't take offense, but I just felt like they weren't working for the parents. They weren't working for the kids. And they've made a massive shift, and so much of it is because of the hard work of Jenny Earl. So I'm not quick housekeeping. I don't have a voting challenger, but I still want to get to know each and every one of you. If you would like to host a cottage meeting or have a town hall in your area, I'm there. Just tell me when. If it's a cottage meeting, no problem. If it's a town hall, I just have to bring security. Not a big deal, but unfortunately, it does, anything that's open to the public, there's usually a plainclothes officer there, because the radical left really doesn't. I patrolled outside of my house the entire time. Credible death threats, horrible things about my children, packages sent to my home, poop, white powder, you name it. It got sent to me. But as my daughter, she said, you must be doing the right thing. And I love that she said, you. She didn't say you, Mom. She didn't say you. She said, we are doing the right thing. Because in our house, it is a family affair. I don't run bills for corporations. I don't run legislation for donors. A lot of my donors are individuals, just residents of the state. I run bills that matter to the people. And so I think we are doing the right things. Some of the things that they hate about what I've done, everyone, of course, hopefully knows about preserving women's sports a couple of years ago. And this year we also had the bill that, number one, codified the foundation of Title IX. Not all of the garbage that's been put in Title IX since the last 20 years, but the very foundation of Title IX is codified in state law, so that we have true equality for our athletes and our school children. That no more will young girls have to be sent under the bleachers at halftime because their boys' away team is taking their locker. Because that's what Title, like, you cannot say as Republicans, we care about Title IX, we uphold it, and we don't want all the new radical things. And for what Title IX truly is and was about. So now we shall we're doing. Yes, we did define what a man and a woman is. We did ensure that there is a privacy plan in place. That kids in Victoria have a place that is for them to go to the bathroom that is not the same bathroom as your daughter's. It's really, really important for a lot of the parents who said, look, there's a student, and we've known the student for a lot of years, but now the student is a girl. And my daughter is scared because she was molested by her uncle or her, second cousin or whatever. And being in a bathroom with someone with male genitalia is freaking her out and really hard for her in school. And so this just says she doesn't have to do that anymore. That student will be shown compassion and be able to use a bathroom that's right for them, but it won't be the same bathroom as your daughter's. I just think that's common sense and courtesy. Two bills will be really brief about that flew under the radar. First one, HB 405. How many of you, by raising a hand, were really frustrated during COVID that they could quarantine you? Unelected individuals could quarantine you because you had what they thought was COVID. Who was frustrated? HB 405, they cannot. We thought that we fixed all this back in 2021, 2022. We didn't. Under the section of code, there was still ability for your local health department and the state health department to come and do a forced physical of you, to do blood draws, to do whatever they wanted and needed to do in case you maybe had COVID, maybe you had the flu, maybe you had the common cold. They were concerned about you and you weren't going to work with your healthcare provider in quarantine. So they could require you to give your saliva or your blood, and then they could force you into quarantine, but not anymore. They can't do that with HB 405, so please go look it up. It's a medical bill that basically no one talked about. And I worked with Kristen Chevrine on it, and it's, again, medical freedom at its finest. It didn't go as far as we wanted it to go, but it's headed in the right direction to ensure that you are in charge of yourself, and unless you are running a med house or have hantavirus, they cannot take over your property. Because prior to that bill, they could come in, an unelected bureaucracy, and take over your home for whatever reason they felt like they should do it. And now there it strictly says if it's a med home or the house has been completely covered with mice carrying the hantavirus, then they could go in for the duration of cleaning up the home, take over that property for that duration, but then return it back to you. None of that was clarified in the law, but now it is. And that really matters to me because I know that it matters to so many of you. Property rights ombudsman, okay? Let's say, right here, Jerry. Jerry goes to his county commission, county council, city, whatever you have with you, okay? They're like, I'm gonna build a shed. I said, no, you can't. Well, yes, I have that right. No, you can't. We said, no. You go in there, you show them how you have the right. They still say no. You go to the ombudsman. They say, yeah, Jerry can. That commission says, no, Jerry can't. You go to an attorney, and the attorney go to the judge. The judge says, yes, you can. Guess what he gets now thanks to 289? His attorney's fees paid and damages if they acted egregiously. And that is a huge win for property rights in the state of Utah. And last but not least, my absolute moment of triumph from the last night. We just dumped $2 billion plus in your money and my money into Salt Lake County. Salt Lake County has a lot of great things going for it. One thing it does not have is fair prosecution of hard criminals. They are let out of jail constantly because they're not prosecuted. I have people that got hit by drunk drivers, suffered brain damage, were disabled, and their prosecuting attorney, their DA, refused to go after that person in Salt Lake County. So the last night of session, there was a bill in the Senate 272 that said that the district attorney would have to kind of track his hours and submit them. Well, I added a piece in there that says that this new legislative oversight committee that we created with this massive hockey bill, they would have the authority under our Utah Constitution to recommend that the DA be removed from office for failure of prosecuting criminals. And that will make our streets safer, that will protect your investments, achieve great dollars, and that will actually start holding people accountable. I understand that there's a voting bloc in Salt Lake that is maybe okay with criminals being let out of jail, murderers being let out of jail who only go again and reoffend. I have a constituent whose son was murdered and a week later was let out of jail. For a year, he walked free in Salt Lake County. It is absolutely ridiculous. And if we're going to take your money, the state's money, and put it in a city and say, all of you come into Salt Lake and enjoy all this great baseball, enjoy all this great hockey. I love baseball, don't get me wrong. But enjoy it all while we have massive criminal issues happening in the county. There needs to be more accountability than just the voters who continue to vote for that type of corruption. So I'm proud of this session. It wasn't perfect, but I think we got a lot of things right. Again, if you want to have a town hall, if you want to have a podcast meeting, I am used to being screamed at. I'm used to having guys 6'6", 280 pounds screaming in my face because I'm a referee, and that's what coaches sometimes do. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't intimidate me. I want to know your concerns. I want to fight for you, so I need to hear from you. Please, let's get some things set up at the top.
All right, last the best of all the game, right? So this is what these guys are awesome representatives. And once they pass stuff at the legislature, then I get to make it into law in the Downton State School Board. So I just wanted to share, you don't hear the great things that are going on. Oh, by the way, they moved me from, I was in Weber County, and when they made the shift back a year and a half ago, they pushed me down into North and South Summit, and I was like, yes, am I in Jimmy May's area? So, love Jimmy May. So we've been in contact for a number of years on education issues, and I just was thrilled when they said, we're moving you down into Summit County, and I thought, oh, I am home. You guys are awesome. I just want to share just a couple of things we're doing and we've done that you didn't know. And it saddens me that you don't know. And I'm just saying that because there's a lot of hype in education out there. It's not CRT, it's not SEL, and it's not sexy. We're going back to academic excellence. That's where the board has shifted their focus. You just don't hear it. It doesn't make the news at night. It doesn't make Facebook headlines that are sensationalized, but it's where we're headed, and we're headed there quick. We've been pushing, we're redoing our math standards. How many want to, let's go. Yeah. I know, it's been, I've been following for years. I teach at a private school, one math class in the morning, an algebra class, and I am thrilled. I love math, I love middle school students, and I am so excited that we're going to be able to maybe get back to teaching basic math in a way that kids can engage and parents can engage with them. So I'm thrilled by that. There's a couple of other things that, once again, they don't hit the headlines, but they're important. There was a bill ran this legislative session that didn't make it through, but we didn't need it because the board had already taken care of it. We had already changed our educator practices, the standards that we had set up in our educator practices. There are a couple of things you can't do. You can't change, or an educator can't, oh, I wish I had the language in front of me. Influence or change a child's gender or sexual orientation. No, right? You cannot do that, right? That's in our standards now, and it's part of the, if you run into problems with that, you can let us know. If kids are being influenced by that, because educators are not there to do that, right? To influence that way. The other thing is they can't use their position to bring in, which is still happening. Once something gets put into place, we have to begin the process of influencing it. But it's to use flags, symbols, things like that to put across a political narrative. And so we put that into place in the fall. It's official rule as of January, and now it's getting the message out so that districts and others know, look, these guys and our legislator did great things. They pushed for getting rid of DEI in higher ed, but the law applies to our public education system, and we're in the process of going back through things and cleaning up our language and cleaning up things. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go, it's late, you guys. I'm amazed that you stayed here, this process is awesome. Even though it's long, this process is awesome. I sit here and listen to all these voices and think, wow, you get to hear 4 or 5 people arguing and articulating. Am I taking questions? Oh, and I actually have a flyer too if you want it. I listed the things that we've been doing that you didn't hear about on my flyer, but I'll give you my phone number, it's 801. And if you want, you can email me, it's easy, it's earlutah@gmail.com. Earl Utah, E-A-R-L. And I'm happy to engage in any capacity that things that you're interested in or things that you need to know. We're moving in good directions. We've got great things going on, and I'll stop. That's enough. So, thank you.
Hey, there's a brochure I left outside too, and that's got my email address and my cell phone number on it, so you're free to call me. One plug I wanted to make is that if you go to politicket.com, I have a podcast there, and have interviewed almost every candidate that's running for a statewide office. or a federal office. And so if you want to listen to them, I think you have one more person.
We actually have one more person. If any of you are willing to hang on for just a couple more minutes. Case Lawrence was not able to be with us tonight. He is a candidate for U.S. Congress for John Curtis's seat. And his son, McKay Lawrence, is here and would like to share a few words with us. McKay, would you like to come up?
Thanks, good evening. Sorry, I'll be brief with your time, just a couple minutes. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm not Case Lawrence, I'm his son, McKay, and I have the great fortune of speaking with you all tonight, representing him. He's required elsewhere, but he's running for Congress, and he feels like right now it is the time to get off the sidelines. And that's what I appreciate and admire about you all here tonight, is that you are involved in the political process, which is daunting to someone like me. I'm a college kid, and I don't want to be involved in all that, but I think I need to. And just like my dad, he's stepping off the sidelines, and he's very accomplished in business. He's coming from the private sector. He's never ran for office before. So he's been Utah's Entrepreneur of the Year, Utah's CEO of the Year, and he feels like it's time to get into politics, as daunting as it may be. So he has 3 priorities really quick. Securing our southern border. You've all heard about it ad nauseum in this Republican Party, but it is for good reason that you have all heard about it. It is a detriment to our culture, our economy, and our national security. So that's what we need to order at the southern border. We also need to get our fiscal house in order. Our debt and the inflation is just an absolute crime to our country, and it is leaving it on my shoulders and my generation. So we need a leader and somebody who's done real things in the real world to go into Congress and to be a leader in doing these things. His last priority, his 3rd priority right now, is restoring the American dream and keeping economic prosperity for this nation. You know, empowering entrepreneurs, empowering families, having a booming energy sector. All those things contribute to our booming economy and our American dream. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate you all giving me a couple minutes extra here. Thank you all. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you all.
Thanks, McKay Lawrence, and thanks everyone for sticking it out and listening, giving all of our candidates your time to understand these races, I think, at a deeper level. If you are interested in volunteering, this is an important year, not only because it's a presidential election year, but just because there is so many important issues at the forefront that we can really have an influence on if we can help some of these candidates get elected. Particularly our county council. If you are interested in volunteering, there are some forms on the table outside you can fill out. Our county council candidates in particular really need help, to get across the finish line here in our Boone County. It is possible for them to win those seats, and with our help, that can happen. So I encourage everyone, if you're interested, if you want to help make change in our community, get involved. We welcome you to volunteer. We really care deeply about what's happening in Park City and in Summit County and in our great state of Utah. So thanks for being here tonight.